I'm going to take his hands, his beautiful, talented hands. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Ganata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff, it's a classic Jeff's Choice.
Woo! I love a Jeff's Choice.
It's a classic Jeff's Choice, buddy. Here's what we've got. You can choose highly conceptual space philosophy.
Ooh, I'm in. I like it already. Okay.
The psychology of video games and what they do to us. It's a tough choice. It's a tough choice.
It is a tough choice.
That's why I had to make it a Jeff's Choice, because I don't know which way I want to go.
I think I want to go with A. I want to go with I think people would expect me to go video games, but I feel like that's going to make me feel like a bad dad.
Well, I'll tell you what's behind curtain B in typical Monty Hall style. I'm going to let you know what you didn't choose. The showcase you didn't take was study finds video game playing causes no harm to young children's cognitive abilities.
I'm a good dad.
All you need to know about B is you're a good dad.
All right. I feel good about that.
But
all right. What's A?
A is great, Jeff, because A brings us back to, gosh, it's practically where we started this whole thing. We're going back to the Fermi paradox, baby.
Hey, that is episode 0 of We Have Concerns. I love a good Fermi paradox, although it, it's terrifying in its ramifications, of course.
Sure. So the Fermi paradox is the whole thing of like, why haven't we found aliens yet? Where are they? What's going on? And the Fermi paradox suggests that we might be the only civilization, because if there was evidence, we would have found it.
Yeah, the Fermi paradox says there's so much out there that we can see. The law of probability says we should see some evidence that there is some other intelligent life.
There should be something out there.
Unless something terrible happened to all of them.
And the whole thing is like, and if something terrible happened to them, how long do we have until it happens to us? And, we've talked about this before, and we've talked about all of the, a lot of people who disbelieve the Fermi paradox say, hey, because there is so much, and because the idea is that, you got to have just the right conditions to create life, it's entirely possible civilizations have come and gone, or there are civilizations, but they're on a different timeline than us. And we're not going to be in the same place at the same time in order to see them, but they're out there. We got to believe they're out there, because also to say that we would have found them by now if there was any other life, there's also a little bit of like human exceptionalism and human centric view of the universe, which we know is, come on, that's a little bit of ego, isn't it?
Yes, but there's been so much time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to believe that life started on our timeline. It just seems probable that something would start so long ago, and it would have advanced to the point of intergalactic space travel if there wasn't something that stops that from ever happening.
Right.
Every time.
Right.
The great filter, they call it.
Yeah. And the great filter was what we kind of talked about on one of the episode 0 of We Have Concerns. Well, here's a new thought, which is an old thought, but it's an old thought with new research. And the new research says, well, they haven't contacted Earth because there simply isn't any sign of intelligence here.
We're too dumb to be noticed.
Yeah. And I, when I saw this headline, I thought of it in the way that we usually think of it in the sort of Roddenberryan way, where it's like, we cannot interfere with the dummies. The dummies have the technology, but until we see that the dummies can use the technology in an intelligent way and in a way that benefits them, we simply cannot interfere. An intelligent civilization would not get in touch with us, even if we had the technology, until they saw that we could handle it responsibly. That's what I thought this was going to be about, right? Because that's sort of where
prime directive situation.
It's a prime directive situation, and it's the way I've always thought about it. I think about it in a sort of a in a Spies Like Us sort of way.
Right.
Where the aliens, is that the movie I'm thinking of, where the aliens offer the big gun or the good package?
No, I don't think Spies Like Us is Russians.
Oh, that's Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase.
There's a Jim Belushi
they have sex
movie
with the ladies in the tent at the end as the bomb is going off.
Oh, no, there's a Jim Belushi one. That's where the aliens either give us the big gun or the good package. There's like a thing where
I don't know that.
It's a movie that was on cable all the time when I was a kid, and it was something that stuck with me for a long time. Was the idea that, hey, these spies have to get to this place because the aliens have contacted us. They've decided we're intelligent enough, and basically the Council of Aliens comes to every planet and offers the big gun or the good package.
That's what I offer my wife every night. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not.
Big gun.
And no, it's not.
It's really not. It's really not.
And
she would have just shut off this podcast if she heard that.
That's true. I'd like to remind you that you're the one that always reminds me that your mother listens to this show.
That is also true.
My mother, of course, still has not figured out podcasts. So they are racing against like a group of evil spies that wants the big gun. And they're trying to get the good package.
I see.
Another thing is the aliens in the movie, in exchange for this, all they want is a clean glass of water because it's so hard to find in the universe. And so they give him a clean glass of water and he drinks it. He's like, oh, that's great. So
I don't know this movie. I feel like I should know this movie. I don't.
Let me tell you something. I don't remember much more of the movie, so it might just be a very clever ending to a very mediocre movie.
It does. That's a lot of movies in the 80s.
But
so this is the idea behind this, though, is that like we wouldn't take time to like reach out to the ants. You know, there's ants. And to the ants, they're like, wow, we live in this whole crazy world down here. We're making ant farms. Wow, there really should be more life on there. We're like, we're not going to waste our time because we are so much more advanced than the ants. We're not going to waste our time reaching out to the ants and being like, hey, ants, what's up? We exist. You know?
Well, this is not that.
Okay.
This actually has nothing to do. This is not taking a moralistic view of this thing at all. They've done new math on the probability of this stuff. And they say basically, the long and short, unless civilizations are highly abundant, the contact era is shown to be of the order of a few hundred to a few thousand years. Now, the contact era is like, this is the period of time in which we would reach out and other people would reach back. Other civilizations would reach back. So basically, it's shown to be of the order of a few hundred to a few thousand years and may be applied not only to physical probes, but transmissions. Consequently, it is shown that civilizations are unlikely to be able to intercommunicate unless their commutative lifetime is at least a few thousand years. And what they're saying is, in the scale of the universe, we have only had the technology for a microsecond, a nanosecond, a femtosecond. I don't know why I went small to big to small, but you know what I mean.
I do. So we just haven't been capable of receiving a message long enough to get a message. That's the idea?
Yeah, we have not been sending transmissions for long enough. I mean, you think about it. We started doing this. I mean, radio, we started without knowing we were sending transmissions out in space. We started radio, you know, in the very beginning of the 20th century, basically.
Right.
So
now, why is that? How do they calculate that length of time? Is it because the universe is so vast that that's just how long it takes for a signal to go out and come back?
Exactly. Unless these aliens not only were receiving our transmissions, but we're also time travelers. it has not gotten to them yet. But here's the other thing. Just, you know, you think about, we have SETI, right? We have the SETI big satellites that are out there, and we're listening. And we've been listening with SETI for decades. And one of the hardest things about SETI, you remember SETI at home was like a big thing for people for a long time. Where like, you could use your computer when it was on like a screensaver to download audio chunks from SETI and analyze them for patterns, or because there's so much background radiation and radio transmissions in the universe, that radio waves, that it takes a long time to even tell if it's a transmission, like a purposeful transmission.
Yeah.
So first it has to get to them. They have to start listening when it's getting to them. And then they have to find the purposeful transmission. So
and there's probably lots of other stuff to do if you're a super intelligent species. You know, like I imagine that just gets put in a pile. Like when I get mail and I'm like, oh, I really need to pay that outstanding doctor bill. I'll get to it.
But I feel fine.
Yeah.
I feel fine, so I don't need to pay that doctor bill right now.
It's gonna be sitting there tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. Maybe it's a super intelligent race of ADHD people.
Ooh.
All the aliens have ADHD.
They keep meaning to listen in, but it's so boring to analyze all the data. And they what they do is they analyze the data and they get 20 minutes into the data and then they realize they haven't been paying attention to the data for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and so they have to rewind 10 minutes, but then they have to rewind a little over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then start listening to the data again so they remember where they were.
You know what actually would be better is if I automated this entire process of listening to the data. I could just I could organize. You know what I need is I actually need a calendar to help me remember the days that I organize data.
Right.
And you know what, actually, in order to get the calendar, it would be really useful for me to just clean this entire workspace to have a place for the calendar.
Where am I going to put the calendar? Right now, there's so much clutter that I can't even tell where I'm going to put the calendar. And they're like, hey, did you hear anything from another civilization today? No, I've been working on it all day.
Not yet.
I've been working on it all day.
Not.
But there's a bunch of stuff that
Sick new calendar, though.
Sick new calendar. Sick new calendar. So yeah, what they're saying is and this is kind of something that we've been talking about for a long time too, is just the odds of this stuff lining up in an infinite and expanding universe is tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
So you're just saying we're like ships in the night. All the various intergalactic alien intelligent species, all the civilizations that have ever been, just ships in the night, just, hey, we're out here, but it just happened when we were prehistoric man and we didn't get it. And then we're like, hey, we're out here. And then, that's what's happening?
Kind of. And the other thing is, that they bring up in this is as our technology gets better, or as their technology gets better, it's entirely possible that they are listening for different things. Like our radio transmissions since the 1940s, 1930s have become, we're sending way, way weaker transmissions overall. There's stuff that we're specifically beaming into space, right? We're like, hey, here we are. Pay attention to us. We're beaming that. But the general radio waves that we're transmitting now, you think about in World War II, to get a radio signal across the Atlantic, you're talking about these gigantic, 60 kilowatt transmitters or something like that, ridiculous transmitters. Now our radio signals are so you think about Wi-Fi signals, you think about cell phone signals, you think about the sort of radio frequencies that we're transmitting now. And it's we have sensitive stuff that picks up really weak signals. So they could have sensitive stuff that picks up really weak signals. But now we're also talking about how far away we are and how much those signals weaken over distance. Right. So that's the other thing is if you send a gigahertz signal out into space over 25 light years, you sort of you lose 1/10 to the power of 38 of the power of the transmission signal. So that doesn't seem like a lot, but as we're transmitting the signal farther and farther to this star system, say that's 25 light years away. So we send something that's a petawatt, a huge signal. Over 25 light years, the received signal becomes 10 to the negative power of 23, which is something called it's a yoctowatt. It's a baby watt. Yeah, it's a little baby watt because it's to the negative power of 23. So it's it's incredibly minuscule. So you think about
Yoctowatt, by the way, is my favorite extended universe character.
Dude, no spoilers for Quantum Mania. You can't do that to people. If they find out that Yoctawatch shows up.
That's the third post-credit scene when Yoctawat's like, hey!
He's like, he shows up and he's like, razzle dazzle, baby. And people go, that's what Yoctawatch says. That's what Yoctawatch said to Spider-Man. He said razzle dazzle, baby.
Shocking. They actually got Brad Pitt to play Yoctawatch, which is
I don't know
shocking.
if he's I don't know if he's coming back. So basically it's going to be like a typical noise level in the universe is like 1 gigahertz. So it would be almost impossible for a civilization to see this signal 25 light years away. They would have such a hard time picking it up. And as the things that we're sending out are going farther and farther out there, like we're finding out that like, well, there ain't anybody as close as we think, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen pretty far away at this point, and we're like, if we're talking about the kind of thing where we're sending out transmissions and we're sending Yoctawatts to where they are, we're trying to razzle dazzle them at the power of a Yoctawatt.
Yeah, you need a little more oomph.
They're not even seeing it. They're not hearing it. They can't pick it up.
But I think for me, the thing that I still haven't wrapped my head around, how this doesn't rectify the Fermi paradox for me, is that part of the Fermi paradox says we're on such a long timeline that the overwhelming probability is that there is some civilization that is so far advanced, that has advanced so far that all of those limitations, all of that difficulty in communicating, they've overcome that technologically they are advanced to the point where we should see some evidence of their expansion throughout the universe if they were capable. If we're on a trajectory as a species to do that, then other species should be as well. And the timeline is so long, it makes no sense that there hasn't been at least one that has done it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would we? But then I think about distance and time and our level of technology, and it's like, would we see it?
Right.
Would we be able to see there? It's like you're saying with the giants and the ants, like it's less about us being like, would we be able to see it? And it's on them to be able to see us. And try to contact us, right? But the more as I'm thinking about it, though, and I'm thinking about this, and we've only been sending stuff out for 50, 60 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I'm still not unconvinced that there are other civilizations out there. I'm just more and more convinced that like, oh, we're going to need to be looking and transmitting for like 1,000 years. If this new math is right, we haven't even begun sending stuff out to where people are going to hear it.
Yeah.
That
would be funny if 1,000 years, human civilization, whatever it looks like, they get a message back. They're like, hey, we got that golden record. Crazy about that Elvis track. And the 1,000 years civilization of humans is like, what, what's
an Elvis?
Yeah.
What's a record?
Exactly.
What are you talking about? And that, my friend, is the plot to Star Trek, the motion picture.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing is if we're sending something out for 1,000 years and then they get it and then they're able to send it back, even if they send it back instantly, 1,000 years from now, they're definitely sending it back to a completely different civilization. You think about where we were 1,000 years ago. Ooh, buddy.
Right, exactly. I
don't know anything about what was going on. I mean, I do,
exactly.
But like very little.
Right.
You're going to have nothing to talk to me about.
So what's the new research here? The new research here is presenting this theory, or did they actually do some calculations? It's hey, this is how long, like the window notion that you presented of needing to be X number of years long in order to actually receive a thing is fascinating to me. Does it say how they came to that?
Yeah. So it's a bunch of math. So,
All right. Can you yada it for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So they built on some of the more recent research. So first of all, there's the rare earth hypothesis, right? They were building on that, which basically says all life is rare. Right. And that was a big paper about the Fermi paradox, like in back in the year 2000. Then they ratified that in 2018 to say like, intelligent life is rare. Let's say that. Because they did some more math. So now what they're saying is like, basically, then they said, well, aliens have probably already visited the solar system and not seen anything.
Wow.
Right. That was like a paper in like 2018. But there's a lot of stuff that says like, the particular properties of extrasolar object inspired the space probe hypothesis, which is like maybe they're sending probes, right? But then there was a bunch of reports on unidentified aerial phenomenon that raised questions about the origin and nature of like these things that could be space probes. But all the new research says, nope, none of them were space probes. These are all just things. Sure. These are all just, we looked and we figured out more things and we did more math. And so now what they're saying is like, it all has to come down to a techno signature. Like we can say that there are like, yeah. What they said is it has to do with the amen break. Everything comes back to the amen break. We know this.
Intelligent life.
So basically what they're saying is like, okay, life is like intelligent life is rare. We know that it's not nearby. We know that a lot of the things that we previously thought could be unmanned aerial probes from other civilizations, we now know are not. They're natural phenomenon. Now what we have, the one certain thing that we have that we know can be sent out into space forever because we're doing it is a techno signature, artificial radio transmissions, some sort of
an army of daft punks to reach out.
They're bringing them out of retirement.
They just need to. I mean, they were dressed for it the whole time, Anthony.
Somewhere on the French countryside, the science version of Nick Fury just showed up.
Science Fury showed up at Daft Punk's. Nick Analysis.
Showed up where these two guys are just chilling, watching their amount of money go up.
Yeah, that's what they do.
And said, Daft Punk, I'm getting a team together. And they said, you son of bitch. We are in. No, so what we're looking for like, so planets can remain biotic for billions of years. We know that because our planet's been biotic for billions of years. You can have life on the planet for billions of years. Yeah. And you can have that life without sending out any sort of a techno signature, right? So like now we're sending out Earth's techno signature, but we've only been sending it out for a very small amount of time. It would still be undetectable to alien civilizations unless they're sufficiently nearby. Right. The information about Earth being home to a technological civilization has not yet reached beyond 100 light years.
Okay.
We haven't traveled out far enough in the universe.
It's still traveling. The radio waves are still going out.
100 years when we've been around for 1 billion?
Yeah.
Come on. And we're like, why haven't we heard anything yet? Baby, be patient is what they're saying. What they're saying is,
I only have this very brief window of time that I'm on this planet, Anthony, and I need to know now.
I know. That's the trick. The trick is people like you and me, all we want, like what I want more than anything in the world, like anything in my life, is to be a person who's alive when we know that there are aliens and we get to talk to them.
Cool.
I just
That whole
want to
thing
be
with
alive during first contact.
The whole thing with the weather balloons recently,
Yeah.
it was cool. It was a brief moment where I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the moment. Maybe this is when I was alive.
Do you
during
think
that
there are
brief window.
whimsical aliens who would approach us on weather balloon?
Why not? Why not?
It's kind of a Little Prince situation. It's a very like whimsical, like French, like childlike, and that's why they need Daft Punk.
They're like, hello,
and they sound like Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's right. Welcome to the future. Yeah. The analogy to the ants is applicable here too, because if the ants look up, the first time I make contact with the ants, I'm holding a ridiculously large magnifying glass at them. It's also whimsical. It causes the burning death of many of their comrades, sure. But the first image that they have of me, when they look up and they go, there's a giant creature holding, what is that? That's adorable. They're holding a giant magnifying glass. Look at that. It burns.
Yeah. So it's basically just like, look, we've been looking for transmissions aimed at us. We're aiming transmissions out. We've been sending transmissions out without knowing it for like almost 100 years.
Yeah.
But that ain't nothing.
Not enough.
It's not enough. And like if they've and you picture some aliens in flying saucers or whatever just buzzing by and listening as they buzz by. Man, maybe the last time they buzzed by was like 150 years ago.
Yeah.
And the next time they buzz by, it's going to be another 10,000 years.
We checked that spot.
Yeah, no, we
checked that spot.
No, we looked there. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Did you really look there? It's like, yeah, look on the calendar. I put up a whole calendar.
Oh, by the way, your workspace looks really clean.
Thank you.
Very impressive.
Thank you. And then I've been working really hard on it. And then that same alien comes back 5 minutes later and the whole thing is trashed. It's like, what happened? It was not a good system.
I had to start over.
It was a bad system. Are you sure you checked that other? You're sure?
Yes, we definitely went by there. They had water. They had water.
Like clean water?
I didn't taste it.
Oh, man, I could really go for some clean water right now.
Yeah. So the feels like the only actionable stuff that comes out of this, though, is just way longer.
That's it. Wait.
That sucks. That is not cool. I don't like that.
The answer is just keep
work
waiting
for my stupid biological lifespan.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, look, here's the thing. They say that even if a civilization was looking, there are a lot of things that are like in the way of us and other civilizations where like they wouldn't bother to look past us. So we have to wait for the techno signature. Like there are things where like, hey, like Earth's like, if you think about like us, if we had the resources, we wouldn't consider sending like Rosetta style missions to every single asteroid in an asteroid belt or every single comet in an Oort cloud, right? That's just not efficient. It's not efficient. So you've got to send one thing to one area if you're sending out anything and just wait in some clear space for a clear transmission.
Huh. That's wild. This notion of we're just a big needle in a giant haystack. And there's other needles, lots of other needles, but they're just happen to be looking at the other parts of the haystack, right when you became a needle.
Well, and here's the thing that we got to think about mathematically too, is we became a needle because somebody's still shoveling hay into this haystack. Right. It keeps getting bigger. Things keep getting farther away at a speed, especially as you get farther away from us, it's expanding faster. So the farther away something is, a civilization is, they're getting exponentially farther away all the time.
Huh.
So we just got to wait. And it's going to be a few thousand years at least, according to the math that they've done.
Wow. That's a bummer. That is almost worse than the Fermi paradox, because at least the Fermi paradox has some like fireworks at the end.
You could definitely make a movie about the Fermi paradox, right?
Fermi paradox has some cool, shocking conclusion. It's like, oh, hey, if you read the whole Fermi paradox, the end is maybe we all blow up, you know? This one is like,
we either kill ourselves or there's a thing out there killing us all.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
It shows up and it's just like razzle dazzle.
Brad Pitt?
Oh no. It's Yato.
But this idea is just you're here too early. You're
nobody wants to hear be patient on any level in their life.
Never.
Nobody.
Listen, I got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. I will tell you.
Nobody wants to hear 5 more minutes. Nobody wants to hear almost there.
We are wired from birth to hate and be patient.
Oof. Imagine we are on a cosmic level asking if we're there yet.
That's right. Or, are they here yet?
Are they here yet? Daddy, you said we would go see the aliens. When are we going to see the aliens?
Are they here yet?
Yet?
Just wait longer.
Can we go to the aliens, Daddy? Are they going to? No, shut the fuck up.
The bummer about this is that this is the car ride where we all die before we get there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
everyone dies.
I'm not having children, but if I did, your great grandkids.
Yeah.
They might see it. They might see it.
Disneyland.
Yeah, they will. They will get to go to the zoo.
Yeah. The zoological expedition. Yes, we will all die in transit.
It is up to our children to take their children, to take their children, to take their children to the rest stop with the bathrooms. So then their children can take their children.
It's a terrible ending to this story. It's a terrible ending.
Yeah, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I thought this was going to be a way out of the Fermi paradox, but I want back in. I want back into the Fermi paradox. It was at least exciting and fun there.
Yeah, no, it's not exciting or fun. It turns out that the world and the universe are equally boring.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
Do you think we'll ever see that day? Do you think we'll wipe ourselves out before we get there? Do you think there is actually a great filter, even with this? Like the filter happens before we even get to the window? Filter, then window. Or do you think window before filter?
Oh, boy. That's a great question. I'm particularly... I do believe in a sort of Star Trek The Next Generation sort of vibe of it, where it's like, oh, we're going to come real close to destroying ourselves. Like, it's going to be Mad Max for a while, but we're going to come out of that. Because right now, like when I think about it, when I think about what it would take for AI to be democratizing, for the sharing of resources to be efficient, for all of this stuff, what it requires is a complete toppling of the way we've built our civilization currently.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that humanity disappears or we wipe ourselves out or we nuke the planet, but it means that we're going to go through some really rough times when the percentage that benefits the most from this particular type of civilization is really going to try to hold on to this type of civilization. And it's going to be a real bad time for a while, I think. But I am optimistic in the way that it says, like, well, once that's over, though, we're going to come out of it a much better civilization. So I don't necessarily believe the great filter exists or is all encompassing or necessarily applies to us. But I do think we probably are a very long way off from contacting anybody, because our current means of contact are probably going to fall apart with our current civilization. And the new folks with the better stuff are going to build better stuff. And that's when things are going to happen.
Well, yeah, I can dig that. feeling about the Fermi paradox and the great filter, before this conversation happened, was that it felt most plausible to me that if there is a great filter, it involves the fact that in order for any civilization to get to the point where they have harnessed the resources of their planet sufficiently to the point where they can extend beyond the boundaries of that planet, then in doing so, they probably sucked their planet dry of resources to the point where it becomes unsustainable, as it seems we are doing. That the process of expanding beyond the limits of the planet of your origin literally depletes that planet of life-sustaining resources.
Right.
And so you destroy it in trying to advance beyond it. And that might be the great filter.
I can see that happening. See that happening. You're talking about a Dr. Otto Octavius situation where you want the power of the sun in the palm of your hand.
Indeed. As do we all.
Folks, if you want to discuss the heat death of the universe and whether we're going to communicate with anything other than human beings before the heat death of the universe, a great place to do it. A fun place to have a horrible discussion would be our Discord.
I would also agree. Our Discord's a fantastic place. There's amazing people hanging out there. They're posting stories from which we often gain inspiration for this show. They're talking about their concerns, and they're talking about adorable things like pets. It's all there in the Discord, and it only costs you a single US dollar per month. That's almost nothing. It's very little.
If you want to
access to the Discord.
That's right. So if you want to join, you can head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. And as you give a little more, you will get a little more, including bonus episodes, bonus videos, you can get early stuff, all kinds of neat things. Just check out patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.